just to make sure my screen is correct, right?
Yeah, it worked.
Okay, good.
Good morning, everyone. This is Mahdi Haddad from the Bureau of Economic Geology. Thank you so much for joining us for another webinar of ARMA Technical Committee on Induced Seismicity. So considering that the committee members, Sean Maxwell and Jens Stern and Ahmad Qasemi stepped down from the committee, we have recruited a new committee member, Ji Ye, from South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. Ji graduated from geomechanics from University of Oklahoma in 2019. And besides doing research in reservoir geomechanics, he has done research on induced seismicity, and also he is involved with ARMA, running symposium and other activities as well. So we have myself and Jie in this committee for now. So the talk today is by Yangkang Chen from the Bureau of Economic Geology, and the talk is about optimizing AI-backed earthquake monitoring in Texas. An update about upcoming speakers for September and October. We don't have any speakers for now. If you know anyone who is interested in presenting, or you have a topic to present in this webinar series, we look forward to receive any information about your talk, and we would like to invite you formally to speak in those time slots if you are interested. For November 2025, we have Wen Han Soon from University of Alberta, and the talk title is Rupture Cascade Initiated by Wastewater Disposal, Nucleation and Domino Effect of the 2022-2023 Earthquake Sequences near Peace River, Alberta. A little bit about logistics of this webinar series. First of all, please feel free to share the webinar invites. Contact us if you are interested in receiving notifications for upcoming webinars. And also, please submit your questions in the chat function during or after the talk at the chat function in the bottom of the Zoom meeting window. And please send these questions to everyone, because we would like to summarize the questions at the end of the talk to have a better use of time. And also, please subscribe in our YouTube channel. The recordings, including this webinar, will be uploaded in that channel, and by subscription, you will receive notifications about the future uploads. Without further delay, let's invite Yangkang Chen to take over the stage. Yangkang, thank you so much for presenting for us.
Thank you very much, Maddie, for inviting me. Um, um, it's a great honor to be presenting my work here about some hidden stories behind our real-time AI-backed earthquake monitoring framework at TextNet. And the takeaway of my presentation today is it takes time and effort to make a revolutionary change when it comes to AI. I'd like to use a very illustrative figure to show the step-by-step change across different eras in terms of earthquake detection. Here we show three panels. Let's first. First one, we have three colors, red, yellow, and gray. They correspond to the era of human efforts and the era of automation and the era of AI. So the era of automation means that we use STA OTA method as automatic arrival picking method to detect earthquakes. If you are familiar with AI, you understand that AI includes automation. So when we enter this era of automation, we already enter the era of AI. But the AI we are mostly talking about today refers to the deep neural network-based deep learning. So throughout my talk, I will use deep learning and AI for the same thing, for this column. So we can see the frequency magnitude change step by step very obviously from red to yellow and to green. Right? And on right-hand side, we show a daily distribution of the number of events detected in different eras. From the manual effort, around 7 earthquakes per day detectability to around 60, 70 earthquakes per day in the era of automation using SDLTA, to finally around 300 or 400 earthquake detectability per day using deep learning. So that's a tremendous improvement. And on the bottom, we show the magnitude distribution on a daily basis. And we can see a very special day here because on this day, we have a magnitude 5.1 earthquake in West Texas, the Carlson earthquake. You probably know that. And because of the power of AI, we can see very beautiful distribution of very small earthquake, right? Like those earthquake right before the main shock. And we also see a way smaller number of small earthquake right after the main shock. So because of the power of AI, we can see this type of phenomenon very clearly. So that's very magical. Um, Over the years, I have been very fortunate to work with a brilliant group of collaborators, including colleagues, students, and postdocs. And without their day and night hard work, dedicated effort, and never-ending support, this presentation is not possible. So I would like to thank all these collaborators first. So here is a brief outline of my talk, just to let you know what I will be covering. First, I will guide you through a long journey, the hidden stories behind the current ongoing real-time AI workflow in TextNet. And then I will go through many tests and very exciting results we have obtained using EcoCCT, our latest AI picker. And then I will cover a little bit very exciting recent advances, and finally draw some conclusion over all these efforts. First of all, I'd like to state the problem. So what is earthquake detection, right? So earthquake detection, especially for arrival peaking, really means we pick the P wave and S wave arrival from the three-component seismogram. So as we see on this slide, we have three-component waveforms, these waveforms, and all we need to do is to pick the P wave and S wave from these waveforms. And based on these P wave and S wave arrival times, we can do all the things we want, right? So we can use any method, SDLTA, clustering, or deep learning method, whatever method we want to pick the P wave and S wave. That's it. The current ongoing AI boom really started back in 2016 on this particular day, right? A famous company called DeepMind. They made a stir on that day by announcing that their AI player beat the best human player for the first time in history. And then that news really ignited the curiosity of the whole world, including mine. And at that time, I was a distinguished postdoc at the Oak Ridge National Lab. I was doing a very ambitious project trying to inverting the whole Earth structure using full waveform information of large earthquake above magnitude 6. And the fundamental principle of a full waveform inversion is we want to try to solve an inverse problem, trying to iteratively update the velocity model in order to fit observe the three-component seismic data. And by a full waveform inversion, we can have a very high resolution depiction of the Earth's interior structure so that we can understand some scientific question much better. There's one component in the iterative inversion framework that requires AI. So that is to pick the windows from the observed data. We cannot use the whole waveform for inversion, otherwise it's highly unstable. We have to carefully pick the waveform component that contains sufficiently close synthetic and observed data, and for calculating adjoint sources and for the follow-up iterative inversion, etc. And this really brought me the first AI problem, that is to pick the waveform from the data. I come up with a pretty straightforward idea. I use some physics-based features uh, from the observed data and the synthetic data. For example, the normalized cross-correlation value or cross-correlation time lag or amplitude ratio, and even SDA-LTA are traditionally used features. We want to use these physics-based features to try to train a model that can successfully classify the waveforms into usable and then unusable windows. And I designed a very straightforward feed-forward neural network, as can be seen here. And this slide really shows all the principle of this feed-forward approach. The input is the features of all the candidate windows. And through a training process, we can train a model, and then we can apply the model to the independent features extracted from new windows. And back in the day, we really didn't have much resource to do this work. There are no any earthquake detection models, software platform, nothing at that time. So I have to write a whole package from scratch. And here I show a screenshot of one package that I wrote for this purpose. Here, as we can see, the first commit happened around 8 years ago, right? So 2017, that's a long time ago. And on the right-hand side, I showed the example of the neural network window selection class I wrote at that time. Just let you have a general understanding what's the situation or is at that time. And it turns out this method works pretty well. It compares well with the state of the art, which is the FlexWing method. In some cases, our machine learning method even better, picks some missed waveforms by traditional method. So it works. But when doing software or methodological development, we need to always ask ourselves, so what's the pros and cons for the current method, so that we can compensate for the shortcomings of existing method, so that we can keep improving. So this philosophy is really always the case for all the optimization workflow for finally outputting the ecosystem method for TextNet. And for this method, the advantage is it's physics-based. It's very stable, and it doesn't need very large number of training sample, and it works pretty well. But the cons is it requires synthetic data, and for very large scale problems like global agent tomography, we really don't have much resources to calculate the synthetic. And a more flexible method would be synthetic free, and we need to pick the waveform directly from the observed data. And then I keep going. I tried another quite straightforward approach, which is a clustering-based method. So I would like to first introduce the STA-LTA method, the very well-known method in the background of clustering. So if we can consider STA-LTA as a single feature clustering method, right? So for example, for these waveforms, we want to pick the P wave, but the STA-LTA seems to be very oscillating, as shown in this feature figure. Because even though we know the noise is not very strong, but we still can see a lot of oscillation. So that's a drawback of SDA, right? And by incorporating the clustering method, we want to introduce a couple of smoother features like a mean power or any other smoother features to make the clustering, to make the decision making more correct. And then we can hopefully make the picking more accurate and most importantly, more resistant to noise, right? So this is really the idea of using clustering together with some other simple feature to make it work. But this is for arrival time. But if we also want to pick the waveform and then SD-LTE may not be very sensitive to the waveforms. A more sensitive feature might be spectral centroid, as we use in this work. So we substitute the SD-LTE with the spectral centroid, which is more sensitive to waveform, and then we can design a very similar clustering workflow to detect waveforms automatically. And then based on automatic setup, the imaging setup based on the reverse time migration or time reversal imaging, we can get the source location using automatically picked waveforms. So this is the idea of using clustering method. And we can even incorporate more features. Like in this work, we incorporate 191 features, around 63 1D feature and more than 100 2D features. And this number of features is inspired from the speech signal processing field because they have long history of processing the human speech signals. And we just borrow those features from that field and apply it to our seismic problems. And turns out to be quite effective. So for example, for this field data, we have labels, and then we can train a model and then apply it to new data, and then we can detect the waveforms. And because we have a huge number of features, we can study the importance of these features, right? So for example, comparing 1D and 2D features, we see a dramatically different performance for this one. If we use 2D features, we make the result smoother in the spatial dimension. While if we only use 1D features, the result is quite unstable, right? And this is another attempt to make it stronger. But all the previous methods are not really deep learning methods. They are shallow learning. And the first generation of deep learning methods is the convolutional neural network. Right? So starting from this work, we started to explore the potential of CNN. And I mean, CNN is just an architecture, right? So there's a huge flexibility to apply the CNN architecture differently for the earthquake detection problem. But here we just apply it to different windows, right? So we want to pinpoint the waveforms containing the arrivals first, and then we use the clustering method to further pinpoint the arrival time sample, right? So in this way, we actually take a two-step strategy. We can make the results stable and also high resolution using clustering method. On the right-hand side, we show the detailed difference across different methods for the STA-LTA and for the clustering method I just mentioned with more features. And with the CNN backed method, the clustering step is the same. What's different is this part. We use CNN to classify the candidate waveforms into waveforms and non-waveform. And then based on the pinpoint waveforms, and then we can further do clustering to boost the resolution. And in this way, we can make it more resistant to noise because this is really what we want. And in here, we show a sensitivity test to the noise, right? So here we see three curves. We see one decreasing curve. This decreasing curve is SNR curve. So as we increase the noise level, the SNR decrease naturally. And we have two other curves, the red one and this blue one, and they correspond to the picking errors for different cases for the clustering only method and for this CNN and the clustering method. As we can see, the errors is more stable as we increase the noise level. And here we show another strategy, the principle of using using time frequency transform. In this case, continuous wavelet transform. The principle of using CWT to help even to help get even better arrival peaking performance. So in this case, for the same waveforms, we increase the noise level, and then we calculate CWT or time frequency spectra. As we can see, for the low frequency part, those spectra are more or less the same, while the high frequency part, they differ a lot. So that's really the principle of using CWT to help us do the work, because we can use the CWT to better distinguish between signal and noise. So that's really the key principle. And we use this CWT or time frequency approach to help us to pinpoint waveforms to even better performance. And on the left-hand side, we show the general architecture, right? So for the waveforms, we calculate spectra, and then instead of extract features from the 1D signal, we extract features from the 2D spectrum. And then this approach result in a much better result. On the right-hand side, we show the real arrivals we manually picked, and the DNN result, which we can see some errors, especially when there are a huge amount of noise. And here we show the result of the CWT and CM, which is very much noise resistant. What's the remaining problem? It seems that we have shown quite a number of methods already. They work more or less effectively. So what's the remaining problem, right? The problem is it's not generalizable. All the previous models are effective for certain data set. And what we really want in the era of deep learning or AI is to make a very generalizable model. We train once and then we apply it everywhere, right? And what is missing in previous research, I would say that's the data, because all the previous attempts, as we say, are based on like small scale data set. And starting from 2021, we started a very ambitious project. We want to build a very deep, really deep network that is generalizable, right? But built up upon the previous knowledge across all these methods. We know that first of all, data is important. We want to leverage a huge data set. So in this case, we compile a data set from almost everywhere in the world. And then we build a very deep network. The deep network is very, very important for to extract features from a huge number of samples. And we also use scalar. Scalar means the spectrum. So as I said, the spectra can really help us to pinpoint the signal and noise better, right? So built upon the previous knowledge, we built this scalar deep method. And as we can see, it's very deep. It contains more than 24 million parameters. And it really works well. In this slide, I just show a couple of examples to show it's very generalizable for different cases. For example, for this case, a short duration event. This case is very noisy event. This case is one event with one malfunctioning component, and this event is long duration, and this case is our output level is even better than the manual level. And this case is another malfunctioning component. And this case is seismic events. And this case is one window containing two events. And this case is two malfunctioning components. So in any case, Scala Deep works pretty well. And we can go further by benchmarking it with state-of-the-art methods at that time, right? So here we listed 6 methods. The fast method and template matching methods are template-based methods. So they are supposed to detect more events because we use template. But on the other hand, they are not generalizable, right? And next, we show the proposed method. It's pretty good, slightly worse in terms of the completeness compared with template matching methods. And we also compared with CRED method. If you are familiar with EQ transformer, you know the CRED is really the first version of EQ transformer. And it's surprisingly better than CRED method. And we also compared with 2 implementations of SDLTA. So we outperform these 2 cases. And starting in early 2022, the architecture of transformer started to dominate the AI world. And so we also explored a little bit how this transformer architecture can help us, and then we develop an integrated workflow to detect not only the P wave arrival but also the magnitude, right? So here is the complicated architecture. I will skip this part, and I will focus a little bit on the magnitude estimation, right? Using this architecture. And then we compare the magnitude estimation performance on two datasets, the California dataset and the Texas dataset. And as a result, they are both pretty accurate, um, reviewed by the very small magnitude estimation error. The question is why P-wave only? So far, I have only introduced the performance of P-wave, right? Because in certain cases, like earthquake early warning, we are only allowed to use P-wave information, and also in real-time implementation or earthquake monitoring. At TextNet, we are only allowed to use P-wave because we need to output the peaks within very short period of latency, say 30 seconds, right? So in many cases, we are only allowed to use P-wave. And here I just want to show you a complete workflow we have developed uh, for earthquake early warning or for very fast response earthquake characterization. So we as I mentioned, we already developed the P-wave detection and magnitude estimation, and we also developed a location, very fast location method. We can output a location within a second. So that's really fast. And then I will go through this part very quickly, just to let you have a general idea on what method we have developed. So we developed a very fast location method using AI, and it is applied to Japan and obtained very good location estimation results, which really facilitates the earthquake early warning practice. So next part is the most important part, the ecosystems, which is really the baseline model we use at TextNet. So here is a brief introduction about the ecosystem. So several specifications about this method. On the left-hand side, we show the architecture, right? So what's special here is that we actually design slightly different architecture for P-wave and S-wave, right? Because this is reasonable, because it's very hard to obtain uh, the best performance for P-wave and S-wave simultaneously during one training process. And on the other hand, P-wave and S-wave are fundamentally different, as we know. So they have different frequency content, they have different signal to noise ratio. So actually, realistically, they are supposed to be different. So we developed two architectures slightly different for P-wave and S-wave. That's why we can obtain the best performance for almost all the data sets, right, for P-wave and S-wave. And the motivation behind the CCT is that it's kind of as we can see, compact convolutional transformer. It's kind of combination between convolutional network and transformer architecture. So it's kind of as fast as convolutional filter and as accurate as transformer. So that's it. And a key question is why ecosystem, right? So simply because we have tried almost every method we can try. Right? So I have introduced briefly some method here. The first one k-means SVM using 191 features. Then CN, and I also skipped a couple of other methods we have tried over the years: capsule network, variational autoencoder, and caps phase, etc. We only focus on several representative shallow learning approaches and several deep learning approaches like a scalar deep, a very representative, and vision transformer, and then ecosystem. We can because we found that ecosystem really effective for squid detection. And here is a brief explanation why ecosystem is fundamentally better. So let's take a face recognition as one example, right? So suppose we have a face for CN. As long as we have all the components on one face, we consider it a phase, but that's actually not correct. But for transformer, right, we not only need those components, but also need those components on the right position. So then we can consider it as a phase. So that's really the fundamental reason the transformer architecture is better. And then I will show you uh, quickly some very exciting results using ecosynchrony. So here is ecosynchrony applied to different cases. In this case, is a large SNR events with very clear P wave and S wave, right? And for the zoomed view, if we see the two lines are overlapping with each other, that means it's absolutely correct, right? So this is for high SNR event. This is for moderate SNR event. And even from very noisy data, we can still obtain pretty accurate result compared with the human labels. And as I said, benchmark is very important, right? To demonstrate it is better, more accurate, more robust, and we need to compare it with the mainstream state-of-the-art methods like a fishnet and EQ transformer. And in this case, we fix the same testing data, and then we compare all these methods in terms of error, right? So in this case, we seems that ecosystem is slightly better than EQ transformer and better than the fishnet in terms of the error and the standard deviation, which measures uncertainty. And we also want to test its generalizability. In this case, we want to apply to as much data as possible, right? In this case, we first apply it to Japanese dataset. Japanese dataset is actually quite high quality compared with many other datasets. So for Japanese dataset, it performs quite well. We see these lines are overlapping with each other. And we also show Texas dataset. Texas dataset is way noisier than the other dataset because we know the operation in West Texas. But it's pretty accurate. And this is for Italy dataset. Right? We performs very well. And this is the benchmark comparison for different methods for different areas. For Japan, ecosystem is slightly better in terms of accuracy than Eco Transformer and FishNet. And for Texas and for Italy, they are more or less, the phenomenon is more or less the same, right? So in any case, slightly better. And for S-Wave, right? And this is a very interesting microseismic application, right? Because we know there are dramatic difference between microseismic data and the earthquake data because of sampling rate, because of the causal factor, mostly for microseismic hydraulic fracturing and for geological location. So most microseismic plays are very like specific, very regional, very local. But in this case, it seems performs well. We compare it not with human like labels because we normally don't have human labels for microseismic. We compare it with a semi-automatic method. In this case, I show two cases. One case is where we have comparable result as semi-automatic method. And another scenario is that we have way better performance than the semi-automatic. So this is really what deep learning is supposed to be. And then we introduce this very detailed workflow for near real time. I will explain later why it's near real time, not real time. So as we say, we input the waveforms, ecosystem picker, and then we get the peaks, and then we do association, and then we already get the catalog after the association. Right? And then we keep optimizing using non-log with a better velocity model, and then we can get a refined catalog, correcting the depth error. And then we go through the girl class or HyperDD to get the high resolution catalog. So that's really the whole workflow. And then this is another example of showing the difference across different eras of detection, right? For just another month. I'll skip this part, and this part is a difference between different locator, right? So this is using logsat, using like a 1D velocity model, global velocity model, and this is using non-log, using a better velocity model. We can see the events are much more clustered after using a better locator. So this is just one example. And this slide really shows the magic of AI, using manual before AI and using AI. Right? So we can see like from left to right, it's a dramatic change. And also on the top row, we show the catalog before relocation, and the bottom row shows the catalog after relocation, right? We can see that for 1 month data, we can have this level of detectability and completeness. And this slide showed one example event missed by TextNet, which is picked by EQCCT, just one example. And this slide shows a comparison between different picker, between the AI picker, the deep learning picker, and the SDA-LTI picker. And we also compare their location difference for one TextNet event. So the takeaway for this slide is that you see these cyan station, those are the newly triggered station. We detect the event, the very weak signals even from these station, but traditionally using SDAT, we only detect the event from 3 stations. And then as we can see, the location traditionally is here, which is obviously wrong. And by using AI deep learning with more picks, we can move the location here. Right? That is much more reasonable. And also the same thing for the depths. And this slide shows the effectiveness, the influence of the station density. So what if we don't have as many stations as we have right now? What if we only have like 12 station, 8 station, how many events we can detect? The answer is we can detect. We still have a pretty high detectability, but the number of events is much smaller, much smaller. Right? As we can see, if we only have 8 stations, we can only detect like 1/3 the events we can for time being. And this slide shows the fault delineation after we correct the depth error. Right? So on the left-hand side, we show the longitude slice for 3 months. And on the right-hand side, we show the latitude slice. And for one case, for here, we can see beautifully delineated the fault, which correspond to the fault plane of the Carlson earthquake. Okay, just a brief example. And this is the location, the relocation comparison on the map view before and after using AI. And we can see, right, basically, without AI, we can delineate nothing using 1 month data, but using AI, even for 1 month data, we can detect almost everything in terms of the fault structure. And here I also want to mention one magnifying glass effect caused by the AI picker. Because of the power of AI, we can see what's invisible traditionally, right? So for example, and then we can discover very interesting scientific phenomena. For example, in this case, in West Texas, we found that on one particular day, when the injection peaks here, the injection, the highest at this point, the seismicity is lowest at that particular day, right? And that's very, very interesting because we can detect the many small earthquakes. And we explain this phenomenon by 2 possible reasons. Number one is maybe a delayed triggering mechanism. What is that? We don't know, but it's possible. And another mechanism might be just the aseismic sleep, which is just beyond the detectability using seismic methods. And another example is here, right? We saw in the beginning, right before the main shock, we see abnormally huge number of small and moderate size earthquakes, which might be precursory signal. We don't know. And right after the main shock, we see a way smaller number of small events, right? So which is natural because we have a very quick energy release, so that we have way less small earthquakes. But because of this magnifying glass effect, we can see what's invisible traditionally. And here is just a brief mention of our open source GitHub repository. And next, can we do it even better? Right? I have mentioned many things about deep learning, but one component, transfer learning, we want the performance even better, even more flawless. So we compile a data set using all the data, combining all the efforts of the whole TextNet crew over the past 7 years. And then we compile this data set, and then we can do transfer learning. We can significantly decrease the error, right, from left to right for P wave and S wave. And we can also even boost the detectability in faraway station. Like this station, right? So using baseline QCCT, we can do pretty good job in this area, but using transfer learned ecosystem model, we can detect the event from far away station, like those stations, as we can see, are very noisy, very challenging traditionally, but we can make it using the transfer learning strategy. And because of the very high accuracy, we can make it in near real-time monitoring. Because we found that for magnitude above 2 earthquakes, we almost made no mistake. The recall is 100%, so which is really accurate and robust in this in Delaware Basin. So we have confidence to make it near real-time monitoring. I'll explain a little bit later why it's near real-time. And quite recent advances, we also developed equipolarity approach to pick the polarity information because we know, we also want to know the focal mechanism. So we developed this CCT compact convolutional transformer-based equipolarity to pick the P wave polarity. But there's challenges for applying equipolarity in Texas. So because we don't have so many polarity measurements. And the whole number of polarity in Texas database is only 22,000 compared with the million level polarities in other areas like California, right? So this is a challenging. And the strategy we take is we do pre-training using California data, and then we do fine training using this tiny Texas data. As a matter of fact, it is very magical because we found that even using 2,000 polarity measurements, we can still obtain the quite uh, surprising improvement on the accuracy, right? So this is a baseline. If we train the model using California data, and this is the refined accuracy. And from left to right, we show the training ratio. Only if even if we only use 10% of the Texas database, we can still obtain the very good performance. So that's why we can apply equipolarity in Texas. So we use transfer learning. We use only 2,000 polarity measurements to fine tune a model and obtain quite good result. And this is a workflow. So many of us may have already been familiar with this workflow. So basically, we use the polarity, deep learning polarity picker to pick the polarity together with the PS amplitude ratio, together with hash, we get the focal mechanism. So this is pretty straightforward. And this is just one example of solving one focal mechanism on Texas data. And because we can manually verify the correctness, so we can see in this case, for all the waveforms, we only make like 3 mistakes here using equipolarity, which is pretty good. The overall accuracy for polarity picking is 92%. And the resulted focal mechanism is almost the same as the full waveform inversion result, right? Which is very surprising. And because of that, we can combine large focal mechanism catalog from previously only 95 solutions in West Texas to nowadays over 12,000 solutions with magnitude all the way down to 2. Previously, we can solve the focal mechanism only with magnitude only above of 3, and because of that, we can get the highest resolution basin scale stress map for the state of Texas. And next, a few slides just to give you some exciting heads up about the incoming products. So this is the Query Blast. So Query Blast and earthquake classification, right? So we want to make our monitor even more precise. So we also designed this deep learning based Query Blast classifier, and the result is pretty good. As we can see for here, the accuracy is almost 100, about 98% compared with CN and Capsule network, which are early version of the classifier. I will skip this part quickly, just to let you have a general idea of what's going on. And another even more crazy idea is to use deep learning to distinguish the causal factor. Right? So we know that some earthquakes in Texas are caused by industrial activity. So we want to see if it's possible to use deep learning to classify the causal factors. So as a matter of fact, it's pretty good, right? So we prepare three labels: hydraulic fracturing, shallow SWD, deep SWD, and as we see on this panel as a training data, and then we train the model, and then we apply it to a large database. And in this case, we show the distribution of these events, which matches with our prior knowledge very well, actually. So most of this one, about 99% of the events in this part, they are deep SWD, which is fantastic. And on this part, there's almost no deep SWD. They are just like HF and shallow SWD. And as we can see, they are mixed together with each other, and that's uh, perfectly reasonable, right? So this is the sneak peek of our very recent research. And if you like doubts about the geographic factor in the result, and I can show you. With this model, we can also classify the events from equal-fold with like almost 99% as HF. So which is fantastically reasonable, right? And so this is for this part. And last part is the real-time monitoring, right? So I mentioned many times the near real time. So what's the difference? So based on very recent optimized implementation of EcoCCT, we have finally reduced the processing time from like minutes scale to second scale. And we can say that we already make the monitoring real time. So which means we can output the peaks every 30 seconds. And the why it is not the real, it's just near real time for all the previous cases. So if you do not consider the hardware level implementation and optimization of a certain algorithm, it's always near real time because you will never think about uh, those practical things when it comes to real time. But in this case, we make it real time. And if we can do further, if we can decrease the length of the waveforms for each sample from 6,000 to 3,000, and then we can even make the latency time from 30 seconds to 15 seconds. So that would be very amazing. And lastly, this brings us to the end of my presentation. We have learned quite a number of lessons over the past decade-long AI tuning process. What matters? The most important thing is the data. Right? So there are two distinct development stages for our research. The first part, we have limited data. We can do something, but not impressive. For the next part, we do very fast, very impressive research because of massive data, right? And another big factor is benchmark. And we always need to ask us why we use AI and how much better and why this architecture is better, right? So you have to do benchmark, comparison robustness, comparison accuracy, comparison, etc., and compare it with other existing methods so that we know which method is better. And teamwork is very important. And we've covered many aspects of this decade-long research. Earthquake science, machine learning, software visualization, and many aspects matter in this whole process. And the courage is very important. We need to have the courage to make AI real time. Right? And lastly, Rome is not built in one day. It takes time, effort, persistence, and patience. And the question is, what is our next role? And I'm very looking forward to the next chapter of our research. And with that, thank you very much. I'd like to take any questions.
Yangkang, great. Thank you so much. It was very
Thank you.
interesting talk.
Thank
It
you.
was a comprehensive research. Thank you for presenting that. So the first question is by Sean Maxwell. So he answered like he has two chats here. So is there a plan for TechNet to use AI for automatic classification of query blasts? So this is regarding your slide 73. I think currently blasts are detected automatically and reported, but not classified until later manual review. Signal characteristics could be used to classify which would be helpful in areas with both induced seismicity and quarry operations, like Midland Basin. So basically, after slide 73, the answer is yes. You do part of this research, right? Quarry blast and earthquake classification. So then his question is, when will this quarry blast classification be implemented?
That's a good question. So this is just a sneak peek of somewhat ongoing research, and to make it real time, to make it benefit our daily operation, we have to do a couple of more tests. First is we want to compare it with the state of the art, so which is based on the P wave and S wave amplitude. We have already been doing that, and as a matter of fact, just yesterday I just got uh, very exciting results from our team members. Uh, so we have implemented the P wave and S wave amplitude ratio based classification methods, and the next step is to just to compare them very robustly based on a very carefully to prepared data set. And then as soon as we have confidence that our approach is robust, high accuracy, and then we'll put it in production straightforwardly. We are currently working hard on that implementation for sure.
Perfect. So as a quick question, a follow-up to this question. So what is the physical characteristics of a quarry blast versus induced seismicity by fluid flow injection for this classification?
That's a good question. Um, so generally speaking, the explosion sources and induced seismicity, they have different source types, source like moment tensor. For explosion-based events, they have a more like explosion-related, like a spike, explosion-related source types, while the induced seismicity are mostly caused by slip of the faults, right? So we can use a double couple to characterize the induced seismicity, but we cannot use double couple to characterize the explosion-related events. That's a simple distinction, I think.
Mhm. Okay, perfect. So the next question is from Elizabeth Cochran. So she mentioned very impressive work and excellent talk. I have a
Thank you.
small question on real-time system. Does the time required for making peaks change depending on the event rate? In other words, if you have lots of events, does that slow down the processing at all, or is it not sensitive to the number of events?
That's a good question. Very good question. Uh, no, it's not sensitive. It's fixed efficiency. So as I saw in the last slide, I spent a limited time on this slide. So as we can see, suppose we have a 300 waveforms, and then we can process all these waveforms, 300 waveforms with 6,000 samples in like in 51 seconds. In 50 seconds on a very resource limited machine, just a normal desktop, we can process all these waveforms the same 1 second segment in a minute. And if we only need to process like 99 waveforms, like in a specific area in West Texas, if we only have like 99, less than 100 waveforms, and then we can output the peaks in 30 seconds for sure. So that's regardless of the number of events.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Perfect. So the next question is by Emmanuel David Castillo, and he mentioned that it's good presentation, and he has three questions. Question one, what window lengths did you use to train EQCCT?
6,000. 6,000.
So
samples.
then
6,000
Mhm.
samples with a sampling rate of 100 hertz.
100 hertz.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's 1 second. Well, no, no. 60 second. 60 second. Yeah,
60 second.
yeah.
So do you recommend using EQCCT primarily for detecting natural earthquakes or microseismic event? I assume this depends on the characteristics of the training data you use. Could you clarify what type of seismicity the training position portions focused on?
The training data are mostly composed of like natural earthquake from around the world. There are no microseismic events in the training database.
How about
So
induced seismicity? Large events but induced by fluid flow injection
yes,
production.
it can includes a significant part of the Texas data for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Has TextNet explored something about AI for phase association?
Ah, that's a good question. So haven't done yet. We are always planning to do that. Uh, yeah, I think it's quite straightforward. But right now we use SASCOM associator, which is pretty robust, and the results are promising. But it would be straightforward to further develop a associator on the whole workflow of the squid detection. The only part we haven't like dig into much is the association part, which is important. But yeah, it's just a matter of time, effort, personnel. Yeah, maybe just an undergrad summer project, maybe. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we will
Perfect.
definitely look into it as soon as we have extra energy and time.
Mhm. Perfect. So I have a question myself. So basically, there are a lot of work for fault interpretation in West Texas, for example, by Lillyhorn. So I was wondering how difficult would it be to incorporate these interpretations in the prediction of earthquakes? At least you can just limit the occurrence of or prediction of these earthquakes along those fault lines or close to them.
Um, um, I would say um, for the earthquake, the prediction problem in West Texas, I'm not very familiar with the state of the art, but I would say the AI catalog, especially the low magnitude, very complete small earthquakes, and as we can see, the faults delineated by this workflow on this slide, they are helpful for us to better understand the distribution of the faults and to cross-validate with other sources like from active seismic data. And combining all this information, I think we can have a better understanding of about the distribution of faults and their sleep potential. I think it's a good tool, but I'm not personally very familiar with this type of research.
Mhm. The next question is by Roshan Koirala. He mentioned, can we retrain the model using the microseismic data?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Mhm,
As long as we have labels, but unfortunately, uh, uh, for microseismic, because it's massive data, we have very limited labels. I have an
mhm,
undergrad summer intern who did some work, prepared some labels, but that's very, very like tedious and very huge amount of work to
mhm,
prepare the microseismic data. But in any case, if we have the labels for microseismic data, yeah, we can retrain and yeah.
mhm. So the next question is by Jeff Layfair. You mentioned, thank you for your presentation. Does your classifier detect false positive events produced by the system?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So as we can see, like um, in this case, so for the confidence of near real-time monitoring comes from the fact that for magnitude above 2 earthquakes, the recall is 100%, which means that we do not have false positive. But in our other areas, like here, like in Midland area, we have like sometimes we will falsely pick events, and that's normal, and also that's a criteria to evaluate the robustness of a peak. Sometimes, especially for real-time monitoring, we care mostly on the recall of magnitude above 2 earthquake. We should not make any mistake for large earthquakes. Right? That's very normal. We should never ever make mistake for large earthquake. But for small earthquake, definitely.
Mhm.
Mm.
Okay, perfect. So thank you so much. We are on top of the hour for this webinar. So thank you everyone for joining us for another great webinar. Thank you, Yangkang, for presenting to us. And the questions showed the huge interest of the audience to listen from you. And the topic was very interesting. Thank you so much again. And so the formal part closes at this time, but we have informal part of the webinar in the following 15 or 20 minutes for everyone to unmute themselves and ask questions in person. So thank you and have a great day. Yankan, if you have time, you can stay with us or
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
sure.
disconnect. It's up to
Yeah, I
you.
can. Yeah, I can stay a little bit. Yeah, if anyone has any question.
Mhm. So I have a question about using this predictor tool by the operators to adjust their injection operation. So how far is this tool from that, and have you been able to work out through that with any of the operators to stop any of the earthquakes that would likely happen if they don't adjust the injection?
Oh, you mean the output, the AI catalog to public and work with the operators.
Mhm.
Um, uh, First of all, we have our in-house AI catalog already every time in real time. We haven't made the catalog public because of the concern of the depth correctness. We are very confident in Delaware Basin. We have quite accurate depth estimation, but in other areas, the depth is an issue. So that's why uh, actually I didn't mention another very important part of work is the velocity model. We need a better statewide velocity model to make the depths more correct. So that, and after that, we are basically free to release all the AI catalog. Right now, we just based on like request. If you are interested on the AI catalog, you can just send a inquiry email, and then we can coordinate with the release of a small part of the catalog, and work with those collaborators on solve some problems. But to release the whole catalog to public in the long run, we have to first get the velocity model.
Mhm. Mhm. Perfect. Thank you. Anyone else? If you have any questions, please unmute yourself and ask a question. We have still 8 people in the Zoom meeting. I think it looks like people are done with the questions. So thank you again to save the time for the day. Let's close the meeting.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yankan. I really enjoyed your talk.
Thank you. Thank you. It's
Thank you.
very
Have a
good
good day.
discussion. Hi, Jay. Thank you. Enjoy the time. Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Nice
Have a
talk.
great weekend, everyone.
Yeah.
Nice
Thank
talk.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.